Hello and welcome back to the channel where we are building a video game from scratch using Love2d and Lua. So yesterday we got our new dungeons set up. So it's just placeholder design for now. It's just a couple of chasms and walking ports. So this is the fix we got for the sideways doorways. So the doorway needs to go over us so it looks like we're going inside the dungeon here. So we kind of rounded out the top of this doorway so that we can kind of fit through it. Because of our weird collision detection, we have this much leeway in the hole for the collision detection. Because our bottom collision detection is much stricter than our top because of our kind of fake 3D collision detection approach. So we had to kind of come up with I won't say clever, but a different solution to make it look like we're walking in there, because we need to look like we're going inside a dungeon, but also we can't have our heads stick out by like 6 pixels over there. So we kind of just render us partway under, like a doorway looking part of it. It looks pretty good. Like I'm not, I don't think it's perfect by any means, but I think it's good enough to get the job done. Because the alternate thing we do is do specific unique collision detection just for these doorways, where we would limit how high you'd have to be to walk through the doorway, and we don't have a way to really do that. We don't really have a way we can modify it. Like off the top of my head, I'm trying to think if like it's hard because our whole game is tile based, so we can't really say let's put a collidable object at a weird location other than a tile location. And we can't modify the original collision because we're using it everywhere else in the game, like for right here. If we had true collision detection on the top here, the furthest we could walk up would be right there. Like right there. That would be the furthest we could walk up. So we'd be limited in there. And I just like how it looks better when you can kind of walk in front of it there. It makes sense that this would be the lockout on the bottom. So that's what we did yesterday. It's, I'm not thrilled with it, but I think it's totally passable. Totally gets the job done for what we need it for. I think the alternate would just put us, take us 3 days, and it would only be for like a little bit of an upgrade. So we have to figure out what the game plan is for today. I've been way overworked with I would say, it's not 2 full-time jobs, but it's like two more than half-time jobs. So it's been a lot of work for me. So I haven't been getting a lot of sleep lately. So I don't have much energy. But we're going to look at our Kanban board here and try to figure out what the next plan is. So the whole game plan has been, let's tackle the hardest things first so that it gets easier and easier as we get towards the end of the demo. And we've done a lot of hard things. We've got the death animation, saving and reloading, respawning. We got new enemies. We've got treasure chests. We've got pushable objects. We got destructibles. We've got coins. I guess that isn't too tough, but we got a lot of hard stuff done. And I was initially planning on, hey, let's plan out. Let's make those chasm sprites for the corners so that we can draw better chasms, but that is a lot easier than some of the stuff we have left. So I'm thinking we pivot back into more hard stuff so that we can kind of knock that out and keep our momentum towards finishing the demo by the end of February. That's too fast, but I'm going to say end of February just to kind of put a light under the butt, So we have to do a couple of things that aren't on the menu here. And one of those things is what I'm calling like limiting the inventory. So it's like right now what we have for our inventory is, hey, what's up, Loki? Good evening. Our inventory, we can equip any tunic and any spell element. We do have all the tunics rendered and equipable, but the elements are just rendering the colors. It doesn't change what spell you're actually casting. So I'm thinking that we need to limit the inventory to grayed out other tunics, like, because we need this right now. Right now you can click any of them, but you don't have the green tunic. That's the whole point of the demo, is getting the green tunic unlocked in the dungeon so that you can open the way to the next biome. So I'm kind of thinking we go into our inventory system and make it so that each tunic is unlockable, but they get locked. They just get toggleable so that we can unlock them as we progress through the game, so that the player can't just go and equip anything right now. Same thing with the elements. We can have them grayed out. But also, that's not the toughest thing left. I'm actually really nervous for this, because I think the toughest thing that I didn't even think about is the what you want to call it, like a scripted event deployer, something. So like, when you start the game, it's going to have some expositional dialogue, and it might control some of the sprites, and it might, like, there's interaction in the sense that you have to advance the dialogue, but it's not so interactable. Like, you can't just walk anywhere at any time. You kind of have to get pushed in a certain direction. So right now our game doesn't have a way to load certain scripted events like that. So part of me thinks we need to just start at least talking this through and trying to get some method of handling these scripted events, because there's going to be a lot when you think about the whole game. Anytime. Yeah, I think, I don't know how to do it. I've never done anything close to that complex before, so I am a little worried about it. I'm worried about how to store the data and then use it and make sure it doesn't break anything, right? So it's like, it's kind of a big deal to be able to do that. So yeah, like, how would we store the event? How would we trigger it? And what does that look like? Because ideally what happens is we can just trigger the event, right? So we say, like, hey, event on, activate expositional dialogue, or whatever the scene is. We can say, let's activate this dialogue. Then it knows, okay, I know what scene to go to render. I know where the player needs to be. And I know that we need to not use any directional input for the player. And I know we might have dialogue box objects that the player runs through. We might have custom, movement for the players and the characters for the talking and interacting. But we need a special way to kind of trigger a specific event and a way to store the specific event. Yeah, it's tough to talk about, because it's like, I want to just call them scripted events. Because I want to say, it needs to be like a special kind of state for the game where we typically render things the same way, but the player doesn't have full movement unless it's a scene that gives it full movement. It needs to know which NPCs need to be in the current scene. It needs to know which scene needs to be rendered. It needs to know what dialogue to run through for the dialogue box options, what the timing for those things are. So it's tough because there's so many moving parts in the game. There's a play state that's holding all of the current scene, as well as maybe the next scene if we're transitioning, as well as the current map, as well as it takes in a type of event, and then it can parse depending on the kind of event. Yeah, I need something like that, right? Where we can just trigger an event. Yeah, I like calling it an event. Yeah, because we need to basically be able to trigger, say, let's trigger, Mage NPC side quest 1, and then we say trigger, and then it knows, okay, well, for that we're gonna be in a current scene or whatever it is. So like that and the dialogue system, to like how to handle the dialogue system is gonna be tough for me to wrap my head around, because right now we have just a dialogue box object that's kind of moving around with the player, but we need to advance that dialogue box over time. If you've done a specific part of the game, it might advance the next dialogue object. So just kind of add a queue of different events based on their timing. So with all those events, Squinch, do you have like a master table of all these events that you have very specific keys for, so you know which one's which, so that you can call them in that queue order, or if you put them in the queue, then you just trigger them whenever the next thing needs to happen, or I'm a little lost trying to think about how we're going to do it and have it work for us throughout the game. Like do we just give very, very specific keys for which events need to happen? And if we're in a scripted event, then instead of updating our play state like normal, all we do is very specific things, whatever that may be. Yeah. When they get triggered, creates an event with all the properties, adds it to the queue. So you're saying like you can trigger multiple events and have them like waiting on one another, and then they kind of just come down the pipeline in the order they were assigned? Because I don't think we'll need more than one event in a queue at any given time. But I'm trying to think of where we would possibly need that. I guess it depends. See, what's tough for me to imagine is like, let's say we have an event called expositional dialogue, and it's just the first dialogue that we get told when we start the new game, right? So like if we say, hey, let's event trigger this expositional dialogue event, then we have to, I guess if it's in our play state, we can just say, okay, well, it's triggered. So, see, but then I think I'm most confused at like, how do we have access to, well, I'm trying to think if like we need access to some functions in our play state for either collision detection or animation object updating, or like all this little stuff. It's like, how do we, I think at the end of the day, we still need to put the event in the play state so that we have access to those variables, so that if there's water moving, we can continue the water moving. If there's camera movement or enemy spawns. Yeah. And I would imagine that the event itself has little parameters we can tweak, like, we'll run through the dialogue and then we wait 5 seconds and then we spawn, we activate all the enemies or whatever. Creating a queue to be more consistent. Do you have any of the code for that for me to peep? Because I'm just trying to think of like how a queue would help us. And I'm not really getting it. I'm kind of just thinking like we can just set little timers upon different triggers within the event, or if the event has a whole table of sequences, and the first sequence is maybe just the dialogue, the second one is maybe the enemy spawn or whatever it may be, and then that queue you're talking about, so that you can kind of modify each level of whatever's coming down the pipeline. And then just once you queue them up, you just cycle through all the events for that specific event trigger. That sounds like it makes sense to me. But also I've never done anything like that, so it's going to be learning. The big thing for us is, we need to be able to trigger some kind of event to stop our player moving and trigger specific dialogue. And then, there aren't very complicated events for the beginning of the game. It's really just the expositional dialogue. Okay. Yeah, I think it makes sense to me. It's just, it's like I got that strain of the big brain, right? With like trying to think of holding that much, like the control flow of all of that stuff is a lot to try to think about. So I'm a little daunted. So I part of me thinks it makes sense to have it here in the play state, because we'd have access to rendering all the tiles for the current map. We'd have the current player or NPC accessibility here. So it comes down to, we basically need to prevent certain logic if we're in an event. Certain logic like, player updating position. We would prevent that if we're in an event. And if we're in an event, we just go to whatever our current event is and update it. And then we can just define the specific things in that specific event. So I guess this event manager class would be like okay. Yeah, I'm glad we're thinking about this, because I feel so much resistance to trying to do this, because it's difficult, right? So we do need to take it on. I'm trying to think about what class we would need. So like if we have an event class and we can pass in whatever we need, or if it's global, we can access it. Then if we can kind of do specific things, if we trigger this, let me see how we're triggering the, because we have this event trigger, event dispatch. We want to do something like this. So this is in our player class. We dispatch this right transition, which I'm wanting to see how we define this. Event dispatch. And then we have this event on within the scene and not even the player. So how are we able to add a dispatch to the player and have an event on? I guess it's just global, right? This event dispatcher we already have has access to whatever this event is. So let's just try to implement like a super basic event, right? So it's like we would go into our play state, and we'd have to say like a active event, right? So it's like most of the time we don't have an active event, so let's just render stuff as we are currently. For a dice rolling game, more applicable for that. Okay, Yeah, because ours are kind of super scripted. Like, we don't need a lot of variety. You know, we basically need to just lock the player, run whatever dialogue, whatever animations for the NPCs, and then resume walkability for the player and stuff. So I think ours is going to be simpler than yours with the queue, but I really don't know. You know, we don't know if we want to add some camera shake events or anything like that. I don't know. So we have this, I guess, you know, where do we define? We define this event in the scene, but it doesn't have to be in the scene because we're not even, like, the event is global. So yeah, we just define it kind of wherever we did. Let's see if we I think this library we're doing, yeah, this event is just a global event library that we're using. Okay, so we kind of just have this event dispatcher already with this library we did for the transitions. So it looks like, you know, we might have a global event manager, like you're saying, Squinch. We have an event manager where we define all of these different events, and then we can dispatch upon certain things. I'm just a little worried about the complexity of it, right? So it's like, if we, you know, I don't want to just bog down our play state with, if we talk to the NPC, dispatch NPC storyline 1 or whatever. Ideally, we can, I don't know, because if we have more than one event, I'm just thinking about how bogged down our play state will be if we just keep dispatching and dispatching within the play state logic. Yeah, it's so tough to think about it. But I think we make a global event class, an event manager class, or not even class, just a global file that we can pull from. Let's do that. We'll call it event manager.lua. And this isn't a class, because all we need to do really is just have it hold all of our definitions for whatever the events are. So it doesn't need to update specifically, because we're just defining the event. Well, I guess we would need it to. Because I'm thinking that we need to, there's two parts to this event, right? We say this event on, which defines its logic, but then we have the event trigger, or the dispatch. That actually calls it. So if our event manager is a class that takes in whatever current event, well, see, and I'm trying not to code unnecessary stuff, because it's like we already have. Because the dispatcher is nice, because we say, hey, let's just dispatch expositional dialogue event. Then our nice little global table here will say, okay, well, I know how to initialize this event, but what I don't know how to do is how to access this event, the current event, in the play state, because then we need to say, let's update the event. And we're not trying to we're not trying to make an event class that says, okay, well, the event class holds whatever key of the event, and then it takes in whatever key of the event and updates that very event. Because then we're kind of just like, I feel like we're getting rid of the neatness of just triggering the event on function. Because like we don't want to have to say, you know, the event on is the equivalent of here's the key, let's just do the thing. We're not trying to have another abstracted event manager that says, hey, which event did we just deploy? Why don't we go ahead and update that one? It's like that's what this is doing already. So let's look at the documentation for the knife event library and see if there's any way to access the current event. Because then we can just say in our play state, let's just update current event if we're in an event, and then we dispatch a back to play state event to switch us back once we're done. I just Googled knife event as if Google was going to show me the Lua library for it. So I found some weird stuff. Okay. Knife event, dispatch and handle events. Handle event of type name with callback. Okay. Event on update. We do some stuff. Intercept love events and callbacks. I thought there'd be more to this. Okay, hook dispatchers into target table in fields matching with keys. So an event hook will take in a table target, a table to hook dispatchers into, table keys. So for example, an event.hook can take in love handlers, which expands into love and a table of the different methods. I don't see how that helps us. I need to see more stuff about it. Like dispatch name. So like, is there, just like how we're able to type an event.on, so there's just an on, a dispatch, a hook, and handlers. Event handlers is a table. You know, because I'm looking for a way for us to define this event needing delta time or taking in a timer that needs to update using delta time. I guess we could. Can we pass? Crap, I'm trying to think because this is tough. I might be too tired to try to do this hard of something new, but yeah, my eyes are having a hard time staying awake. Let's see. Event handlers is a table. So let's just print event handlers. Let's change to a test event. You know, we'll dispatch a test event, and we'll just try to print up whatever the global event handlers are and see any data that we might be able to see and see if we can kind of pick up on this. So let's have this event called event test, and it'll be a global, it is a global event but we need to add our event manager here so that we have access to it. Okay, so now that we're requiring our event manager, we should have access to event.trigger this event test. So let's just say event test has a local name called testing, and then a local table, a local test data being a table of some sorts. Okay, so we have this event test. It's listening for a trigger for event test, so let's go trigger that event test. So in our play state, first thing we're going to do, or in our init, we're just going to say event trigger. Is that how we do it? Event dispatch. Okay, event dispatch. Okay, so we're going to event dispatch our event test. And then what we'll do, since that event will be dispatched, we might have access to certain variables. So what I'm going to do is just see if we can print up whatever the global event is, and then we'll see if there's really no. Here we go. Let's just try to print up the global event. I don't even know what will happen. So we'll say not to string, but we actually want to inspect this as a table because we know it's going to be a table. We don't want just the address of the table. So we're going to inspect the event and print it to screen. If that'll even work. Now event manger is not found. So event manager. Okay. All right. We have handlers, a table of handlers. So the global event has a list of all the handlers. So if we go down inside the handlers into the event test key, we might be able to find the thing we're looking for, which is all that data we put in the event. So if we say handlers index event test, would we get our table of test data that we plopped in there? Handlers. Okay, well, we have a callback. So we have a callback that's storing the function of. It snags the name, which is nice. There's also a remove function, a register function. So we maybe if we dig into the callback, we might be able to see the values that are in there. I don't know. It just says function. So a function is not a table. How do you get the function out that we just dug into? Because it's like, it says function, but what is the function? How do we unpack it? If that's the function, inspect might not be the right thing. Maybe we want to convert it to a string, convert the function to a string, try to print it. I don't know. It's just an address of a function. So we need to dig down and be able to get this, because we need to figure out how to update the specific event we're in. So like, because we don't want to just call or I need to see the values that are in there. Really, I need to see how we can pull those values out, because if we're trying to modify something like the player's position, we need to make sure that our player's position is updating over time, so that we can pass delta time to our event dispatch or our event.on callback and have it actually update over time. If we look at our event on, we see that all we do is basically assign a couple of different values from our scene. So we can assume, we know that you're able to modify values in the callback, but I am not so sure that we can pass in delta time and update those things over time. Yo, what up, Salto? How's it going, homie? We're working on some special event dispatch logic here that is kind of tough because I've never done anything like it before. So we're trying to basically, for like scripted events, right? So like when the game starts, we need to say, hey, load up this scene with this dialogue tree, for it to cycle through, so that we can script events like the beginning of the game or the little tutorial that we have to explain the magic or the loot. So we're going to be I'm trying to figure this out. We dug down into an event dispatch we have. We're getting a function back, but we're not getting any of the values of that function back. So the function callback itself has a couple different values, like test data, right? So like, can we dig down into the function using the field? No, we can't. We can't index into a field of a function. So how do we print the value of a function? We can print a table, but the function just gives us an address. Okay. So we have this. Yeah, it needs to take in a callback like this. Dude, it's tough. It's tough. Yeah, it is very tough. Because, it's tough thinking about how to expand it for the whole game, right? Where it's like, oh, well, we need a whole crap ton of these events, and we need to manage them correctly and make sure we're rendering all the correct inventory status and correct outfit and correct, timing for everything. So, like, we don't necessarily need to be able to print these things up. It's just that it'd be nice for me to print it up so that I know we have access, so I know how to touch that data, so that we can do things like pass in delta time, so we can update NPCs or something like that. But I guess also when we dispatch this, it would still be, we're still in our play state and we're still technically updating the NPCs. Well, until, because we'll add this thing. We need to add a whole conditional in our play state that says, if we are in an event, let's not render things as normal, so that we don't have collision detection for something killing us while we're being talked to for an event dispatch, right? So it's like we need very specific behavior. So that's why I'm thinking, like, we dispatch the event, we stop updating our traditional play state but we have access to the global location of the current scene, the current map, the player's location, the NPC's location and direction, all that stuff. But then we go and say, okay, well, now we're in an event, so let's just update all of the event dispatch logic, and that needs delta time. So how do we print up a function? Let's see. I don't know if you can print the contents of a function. It looks like you can do a .get info. Shoot. Metadata. Yeah, a debug.get info. And then pass in, is it you pass in the function? Yeah, you pass in the function name. Let's try that and see if we can do that. Debug.get info. So instead of this, see, this is the callback itself. So let's just say that we run our debug.get info here. And we pass in the function itself, which is this callback from our event test. No, debug. Oh, that's not even a function. It's a prototype. Yo, did I spell it wrong? No. Debug.getInfo. Oh, get info lowercase. No. Debug is a function value, so maybe we don't cast it. Oh, shoot. I hate when our game does that. Okay. This is not working. Debug.getInfo is not working. Well, it looks like this would be a table. Man, I've got no idea. Debug is a function value, cannot index global debug. All right, so I guess just that is not a function, but I'm finding it in multiple places on Google. Yeah, Lua documentation says introspective facilities. It sounds so weird. Yeah, debug.getInfo. So what, that just... Is that just not a thing in Love2d? Yo, it should be available here. Okay, well this get info is not working. You get data about the function active at that stack level. No, we don't. We don't get any of that. So like instead of printing it, does it crash just trying to say debug get info? Oh, it doesn't. It needs two parameters? No, not in this example. F what? What is the F and what is the what? Oh, the function, but then what's... Okay. Can we run it on anything? No. You know, I mean, that just doesn't work. You know, we can almost dig down into it, right? We've got the event handler at the right key, and we're going into the callback. So that's close. It's just that we can't index any field past that. It just says function. So into the table callback, and we can't dig anywhere past that because that's a function, and we can't dig into it because it's not a table. And if we print a string version of this callback, we get the address of the function. But and there's no you know, dereferencer as far as I know in Lua. Yeah, there's no function dereferencer. So how do we get this? Man, I really don't know. So what this event dispatcher is doing is just being able to trigger certain code. And whether or not we have access to print that code, you know, it would be helpful for debugging purposes if we can dig down and see that the values are updating correctly. But what we could also do... man, I don't know. I was going to say we can add some fields to an event class, but then we'd still have to populate it with values, and we can't get those values to populate it with because we can't dereference the function. Maybe we can try to inspect an invoked function. I don't know. Would that do anything? Nil. Okay, so what if we return some values for our event just to test it? So let's say we return our name and we return our test data from this function, and we try that. Yo, we've got our testing string out. So it looks like just our name came out. So we can't return more than one data type, or we can say local test values gets assigned whatever this callback function returns, which is multiple values. So that callback will return both a name and a test data. We assign that into test values. We might have to put this in curly braces so that it treats it like a table for our test values, for it to be, multiple values. And then maybe we can say that we say dig into our test values name field and maybe our test data field. So nil isn't working, so test, that isn't quite working. I think we have to pull it out. Well, it's actually, let's see, test values, and we'll just try to inspect the table itself. We should get the same thing that says testing, right? Oh, we get both. This is what we need. We don't have the fields associated with it, which we would need, at least for clarity's sake. But we do have a way to get those values out. Okay. So when we debug it, or it's almost like we need a way to not just return the value, but like, let's say that we have the return name variable is going to be a string of name equals, and then we concatenate whatever the actual name is. It's already a string, so we can just say concatenate with name. And then return data is a string of, it's already printing up the table of data. I guess we would have to, if we convert the table to a string so that we can print it. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But we're going to say data, I'm trying to get the values out as well. Or the name of the fields out as well. Yeah, see, I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for right here where we return. This is our return name and our return data, which should be a string of the field concatenated with it, with the data itself. Yes, name is testing data. And then what we would want to do, instead of just printing the test values, we would do a for loop so that we can cycle through all of our test values and print them up one by one. So we can say there's a starting X position that is at 0, and then we're going to print the value of what we're iterating through. And then this will be the starting X, and as we loop, we increment our starting X by 10 so that we get new lines. And then we should have multiple fields that we're pulling out. They're not on new lines. It's because what? This value is multiple return values. So it's like this was a table, right? A table of return values. We're returning 2 different ones. So when we cycle through it, yeah, we're missing this. We're missing how this works. It's pulling, let's see. let's just print up these test values. I don't think it'll actually let us do this. Well, actually, test values are just a string, so we should be able to print it like normal, like this, and see what it exists as. And it is wow, it's just sandwiched together strings. So we need it to be a table. Yeah, we need it to be a table. So like, so we can say, you know, if we have a local table or a local data table, and we say, all we do is we table.insert into the data table the first value, which is a name, and then we insert the second value, which is a test data. Now these are getting shoot. Yeah, it's almost like we'd have to give this like a name key so that it treats it like a dictionary. So we would say like index test data gets the test data values, index name gets the name values. We return the table of data, which is key value pairs, and then we cycle through. Well, let's see if our test values are looking like a table now instead of just concatenated strings, and we can't even do it. We return. Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? Data is an empty table. We table.insert a list and a value. And a list is data. I guess we can't do a key like that because it's Event Manager 9. 675 and play state. Yeah, it doesn't like, well, we can't just print a table even and get the function back, or the table address back even. Inspect our test values to pull that table out. It does pull it out as a table of key value pairs. Well, actually, no. It's wrapping the whole thing as an index. But that's okay. Let's continue on and try to do the per value extraction here, and we'll just print out the inspect of the value of every index, and we should get what we're looking for. Okay, we just got, that's not right. We just got the values, not the index, or we just got the values, we didn't get the fields, which makes sense because we're just inserting the data. So I don't know. I'm learning a lot trying to do this. But it's still not quite what we need. Ideally we have access to all the variables in our event triggers so that we can debug stuff. So we need a consistent way to pull out all of the fields within this function. Yo, Raticide, what's up? Good day. Good day to you. Yeah, we need to... Is there a different table.insert that we can assign a specific key? List position. Does position's just an integer? Yeah, we need something better than that. We need... Yeah, I mean, we need a dictionary. We could do... Shit, man. Yeah, because ultimately we need this data to be in the form of a table that has the values paired with it. So it would ideally say name is testing, like this sort of deal. Test data is a table, and it would say the key and the value. So ideally, whatever we're returning looks something like this. I don't think they are sorted, Raticide. I don't think they are. But it's like, it's confusing because there are, like Lua does have dictionaries, but it's kind of like, it's just a table. So it's not its own kind of data type. So it's a little more flexible than just a dictionary, and that's kind of thrown me off here, because we're trying to get the... Oh, you know what? We can do this easy. Yeah, we can do this easy with a for loop, because we have the key right here. So when we print, we can just say, first of all, we're going to print the key, and we're going to convert it to a string. Should be a string already, but we're going to say print the key, concatenate it with the value. And then this is the new line because we're cycling through each test value. So let's see if that works. Not quite. We got the letter 1, or the number 1, not the name. It should be name and then test data. So what? K is just the key, not the I really thought that would work. Oh yeah, we don't insert. Yeah, the key really is just an integer. Yeah, because when we insert it, it doesn't care what the hell this name is. It cares that like it treats it as the data, whatever the data is, and name is a string. So all it does is put in the string, and then it says, well, that was index 1. So maybe what we do here is give it a name field here, and we just say name concatenate with the actual name variable. That's what gets put. That's what gets put into the data. And then the test data, same thing. We say test data, and then concatenate the actual value, and that's what we're inserting in index 2. Then we don't have to worry about the keys, because those are just integers anyway. All we do is print up the whole value, which is what we converted into a string. No. What's a mad at? Test data is a table value. Okay, so we have to convert the table into a string. Name is already a string. Concatenate test data to a string. Oh, I won't like that. Oh. Name testing, test data. It worked. It just didn't do a new line. It didn't do a new line. This is supposed to increment. Oh, that should be Y. Oh, okay, yeah. Let's do this. Starting X is replaced with starting Y, and then we need to actually draw it at our starting Y, not X. So let's see. We should get a line of it. Shit, man, that's not it either. We still get this 1. Why do we get this 1 here? Oh, we're putting the key. Okay, we don't do that. We cycle through. We inspect the table, and the value of each of the test values. There should be 2 in there. Yeah, there should be 2 in there. So it should do the new line. It's just not doing. Doesn't that restart setting Y? Yo, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it doesn't seem to care. It's only going through this once. Yeah, it's only going through this once. The test values. Let's look at our test values again. We're returning the data. It should be 2. 10 is a lot of lines. Does it fit on screen? It's pixels. Yeah, it's pixels. Yeah, it's the Y position in pixels. So the first one should be 0. The next one should be 10. So that they're like boom, 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 boom. It's just that this is only going through once when we should have. There should be 2 values here, and we're inspecting. Like, I wonder if we say that is not right. Okay, so that's just the first value. It's nice we can pull out the name for it too. But yeah, when we pass in the value here, it should be, yeah, it should be, the first value should be that first name, and then the second one should be the test data. Now is that a comma there? It is a comma. So where's that comma coming from? Where's that comma coming from? Because we're inserting into the table. We have a table, we insert one value into it, we insert another value into it. Yet when we print it up, they're all having a comma there. Man, I don't know. I thought this would work. The Y value, X and Y value. Yeah, I don't get where the comma's coming from, because it's like, it's almost like it's like concatenating the table together with itself. Are we returning? Oh, we're returning, well, shoot, I don't know. If we have these test values is wrapped in table, yo, that might be it. That might be it. There you go. You know, we're not getting the right table values here. We have to inspect the table. And this is just to test. Yo, good call there, Raticide. That was exactly it. I thought I needed that to do to cycle through the tables. There we go. That's it. That's what we're looking for. So we're able to pull out values from our event dispatcher, even though it's a function. So now the question is, like, can we pass in delta time to the event dispatch and have that get updated? Because I don't know how the dispatcher works. Does it just does it once, right? It just dispatches it once. But the return function could take in a delta time, and we can have a delta time or a so time elapsed gets current. Yeah, we'd have to declare this. Yeah, time elapsed plus delta time, and And then we say local time elapsed is... No, we can't do this, because it would just flush it. Let's just try to print up delta time as well. Oh, it'd go into the data table, and we want to say that it is delta time. We should just be able to convert to a string delta time. So now we need to pass in delta time. Into our event trigger, which I don't know if you're allowed to pass variables through the event dispatch. Okay, so we're gonna say event dispatch and do. Can we? It doesn't look like we've got access to delta time here. Okay, so if we pass in delta time, do we get it? No, nil. So can we, if dispatch, let's look at the library, because maybe it has an example of this. It can take in arguments like a dispatch entity. Yeah, it can do that. It can take in variables here. So like we did a function delta time, and they're doing entity, and then they also say we pass in the entity here as a second argument to dispatch. So in dispatch, we were passing in delta time. And then in our event on, we are also requiring the delta time here. We're trying to print it up as a string here and return that data. Does that just return once? I don't know. It's nil, which tells me that delta time isn't getting passed in correctly. It's like if we were to say, hey, this is just 100, does it get 100? No, still nil. So why can't we pass anything into dispatch? If we say that this is number, oh, do we need to pull it out? No, we shouldn't have to. But if we can't get anything out as an argument, then we definitely can't get delta time out. Yeah, we still can't get out whatever this number is. Event dispatch. Yeah, we're in our place state update, and we're dispatching the event test with an optional parameter of 100, which we're trying to print, but it's still nil. Okay, so what are we missing here? Intercept love events. So we can say intercept the update. Where do we even put that? So if we can, well, see, I want to see more how to use this interceptor. Because if we can say, hey, our event hook gets update, can we just pass in delta time that way? I just don't know where we would put the event hook. Do we do that right before we dispatch? Or we do that in the update? The play state update? I don't know. Let's see, in the play state update, when we do our dispatch, let's say that we're going to try this event hook that takes an update. Man, why can't we just pass in the delta time right here though? Because if we have access, like if the hook gives the event global access to delta time, then maybe we don't need a parameter here and we can just say that we need delta time and event already has access to it. I don't know though. No. Yeah, we're still getting nil on that. We can't pass in any values to our event dispatch and have it work. So for right now, let's see. Are we able to event hook in here? Can we even... I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. Yo, it got a function there. Yeah, it's not like in delta time. Stack Overflow. Because we called update within an update. But what? It doesn't, we can't, can we inspect whatever this love object is? That's a lot of stuff, I'm sure. Okay, I mean, I don't know how to pull out delta time. The function event test takes in a parameter here, test value. We're printing up test value. Now, if we don't give it a test value, it should be nil. It currently says nil, but we're giving it a value here. So if we put 100 as the value, we still get nil. What is going on? So event dispatch, it literally just says name and ... It's like I need to see more examples of this. This is exactly what we're trying to do though. Event on update. We're saying, you know, event on update, and this one is saying know, this is our event on update right here. We're saying event on event test, comma, function. We pass in delta time. Now, they don't even return anything because they're probably, that's just super basic example. But we're trying to return this time remaining essentially that they're doing. And we use that, like, the only difference is they have a space here. I don't think that would matter. Still nil. Even though we give it a value here. So when they it literally says dispatch an event of type name with optional arguments. Optional arguments passed to event handlers. Now they do this. Yeah, they pass in a value, an entity, into the event dispatch, which is what we're doing. We're passing in a value of 100 and trying to print it up as a test number. But we're not able to. They're able to say, gosh, I don't get it. Can't get it. So what, we can't get this value out at all, this 100, even though this is a test value, and we're gonna say local test value gets the parameter test value, and then we're gonna print to string. Let's just try to inspect it and just see. Nil. All right. I'm not making any progress, and I'm about to fall asleep. So we'll call it a night. We're getting, you know, we're able to get fields from our event dispatcher function back out into our play state. So that's a good start. We just need to make sure we're able to pass delta time in there so that we can do things like update the NPC, update the dialog box object for whatever dialog box we choose to insert there for whatever event. So it's not a total failure today. We've never done this before, so this is good practice to kind of dig around and see what's possible. Yo, thanks for hanging, Salto. Great work on the loot today too, dude. Like, it's so sick. I love it so much. I'll say that this is testing event manager. I am so sleepy. My eyes are like about to crash. Okay. We'll run the credits here. Oops, we've got some extra debugging data there. Thanks for hanging, Squinch. Yeah, good night. Catch you later. Thanks for hanging, everyone. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll do a little bit more research, try to figure out if we're able to get these delta time values passed into our event dispatcher, because once that's in play, we can start really trying to work out how to program certain events, and it's going to be necessary for the demo coming up. So we'll find someone to raid here. Let's see. We've got Hypnotic. I always raid Hypnotic. Small Block Boy. Yeah, we'll raid out to Jitspo because he raided us the other day. And we'll call it a night. Where is he? I know I saw him. Here we go. Thanks for hanging, everyone. I'll be back tomorrow. Hope you all have a good night. Stay hydrated. Peace out.